Yes, it's time for the big question in which I tackle a major news story of the day. Tonight, the world is still reeling from Harry and Meghan's bombshell Netflix documentary series, but with some casting Meghan Markle as manipulative, fake, or even slightly controlling. Are these criticisms fair, or is this an example of harsh treatment by the press? What motivates this young woman? What is her frame of mind? And is she a force for good or ill? And as Meghan Markle claims that she did not know anything about the royal family or that she didn't realise she had to curtsy when meeting the Queen, our question is a simple one. Is Meghan Markle bonkers? What do you think, Mark at gbnews.uk? Susan has emailed and said, absolutely, she is bonkers. But let's get the views now of a professional, a top shrink, a world-renowned psychiatrist. In fact, she's known as America's psychiatrist, Dr. Carole Lieberman, joining us live from the United States. Good evening, Dr. Carole.
Good evening.
I don't know what the American translation is for the word bonkers, but has Meghan Markle got a screw loose? Is she mad?
Yes, absolutely, yes. She is a malignant narcissist, malicious too, a malignant narcissist. She's also a sociopath. And this new Netflix documentary, which I suffered through for 3+ hours, getting more nauseous and more drowsy as it went on. She is very dangerous. You know, she's already proven that she's very dangerous. What her one goal in life is to get as much attention as she can, and she doesn't care who she destroys in the process.
You say that, but this is a woman who has spoken movingly about the fact that when she was in the spotlight, serving the royal family, living in the UK, a complete culture shock for her. She had terrible mental health problems and got no support from the palace. This woman's been through hell.
Oh, yeah, right. I don't believe that for a second. You know, we see, if it wasn't clear before, I mean, first of all, the main thing is I think that she and Harry are responsible to some degree for the death of Prince Philip and the Queen, because Prince Philip died. Yes, he was, you know, of a certain age and getting in frail health, but he died a month after the Oprah interview. And then the Queen died in anticipation of this Netflix documentary and Harry's book. And I think that the stress, she broke their hearts. And that stress, I think, literally led to, or at least contributed to, their death. So,
Carole, let me interrupt. Carole, just let me interrupt you for a second. This program is the home of free speech, and I will, of course, give that to you. But, you know, you are, of course, a highly regarded medical professional and a world-renowned psychiatrist. You know as well as I do, we don't have the evidence that the drama among the Sussexes caused the premature and sad death of the Queen or Prince Philip. But I think it's fair for you to say that it can't have been great for their mental health having to witness all that was going on.
Well, you know, of course we can't say for sure positively at this point, but we can say there are certainly studies, long-time studies, that show that people can die of a broken heart. And so I'm basing it on that.
Right.
You know, it is very devastating to think about and so on. And her sociopathy, that was on display in particular in this Netflix. I don't know if you saw the documentary yet.
Yeah.
But you did. So
I did.
It was really, really hard to watch. I mean, the scene you referenced was one of the hardest ones, where she makes this mocks the Queen, making this curtsy, like, oh, I'm supposed to curtsy. And, you know, she has this strange expression on her face. And the one real moment, I mean, the documentary was filled with lies, but the one real moment was Harry's face when she did that curtsy. And you could see the pain on his face, and you could see him thinking, wait a minute, did I make a mistake here? You know, because he loved his grandmother.
Indeed, I think we'll try to source that clip, and it would be useful if we can watch that. So, Greg, see if you can work your magic. I think it would be interesting to take a look at the fact that Meghan Markle effectively, I think, mocked the monarchy and mocked the memory of the Queen with this rather extravagant bow that she did. And as you say, Harry was extremely awkward. Look, you've been unapologetic in your views about Meghan. You do think that she's quite a manipulative and negative person. What's your appraisal of Prince Harry?
I'm glad you asked. I used to think for the longest time that poor Harry, he got manipulated and trapped. I mean, I still think he got manipulated and trapped into this relationship and into this marriage and so on. But, I have come to, the more he has been involved with Meghan, saying things that are towards bringing down the monarchy, the more I realize that it wasn't just that he was this poor sap who didn't know better. I think that he is, consciously or unconsciously, aligned with her because he is really angry at his father for having the affair with Camilla, for the pain that his father gave to his mother. So he blames him. And he does still have a sense, of that perhaps the monarchy was involved in not just the paparazzi, but, there were these rumors, and I'm not saying that I believe them, but I'm saying that Harry, might, that the monarchy was somehow involved in Princess Diana's death because of who she was going to be engaged to or going out with. And so there's really some anger on his part. And so he stays in the background and he lets Meghan say all these horrible things. But, I think he's getting some gratification out of it.
How do you see this dynamic between the two playing out? What sort of shelf life does this relationship have if it's based on such an unhealthy set of themes?
It's not going to last forever. I think that when Meghan sees, when Harry, especially if they lose their titles even further. So if Harry stops being as important to her for her fame and so on, as he is, then I think if somebody else comes along, perhaps, an A-list actor, for example, who she could use to get her more acting gigs, she just uses people. And so Harry, has been, who doesn't want to be a princess, right? Every little girl wants to be a princess. And so he really served the purpose of getting her onto the world stage. I'm not saying she doesn't have any feelings for him, but I think it's not really about feelings for anybody. She doesn't judge or do things based upon her feelings. It's so much about me. What is this person going to do for me?
I've got to say that our brilliant producer, Greg, has been successful. This guy just doesn't take no for an answer, and we've got the clip. So let's bring the panel in. But first, let's have a look at this clip of Meghan Markle explaining how she didn't understand she'd have to curtsy or bow in front of the Queen. This, by the way, is the same Meghan Markle who was pictured in front of Buckingham Palace as a teenager on a trip to London. So explain that one. Anyway, here's the clip. Take a look.
Americans will understand this. We have medieval times, dinner and tournament. It was like that. Like I curtsied as though I was like... Pleasure to meet you, Your Majesty.
Poor old Harry could barely crack a grin. Lizzie Cundy, you know Meghan Markle very well. In fact, you and she were close friends when she came to the UK. You put your arm around her, you made her welcome, you introduced her to the UK media scene, and she dumped you. What's your view about her mentality, her psychology? Is Meghan Markle bonkers?
Sadly, Mark, I think she could be. I think this is a massive assault on the Queen. And don't forget, this is a family that's grieving, and they are a family. It's a nation that's still grieving. And I think it's very, very disrespectful. And I can even see from Harry's face there when she does this so-called curtsy that she did. Number one, I don't think he believed her. And actually, I think he thought, what the hell are you doing? It is disrespectful. I could tell from his face. He looked embarrassed. And this whole Netflix, I'll call it, is absolute awful, terrible assassination on the royal family, and they should have their titles removed with immediate effect.
Yes, Mike Porky-Parry, you've reported at length on the royals as a top newspaper man. What's your view of Meghan Markle? Is she bonkers?
Well, I don't want to get that specific because I'm a gentleman of a certain age and I'm white, and Meghan Markle was a lady of colour introduced into the royal family, so I'll get attacked if I, start getting barbaric in my views about her. But that clip you've just shown, Mark, I mean, what dreadful disrespect to a woman who ruled for over 70 years and basically kept this country on the level and coped with any problem until Meghan came along and then has literally taken the mickey out of her. I mean, literally mocking the Queen because she was told you're going to have to curtsy when you meet the Queen. Well, for 72 years, people would queue up just to get into the line to be able to curtsy to the Queen of England. So I thought that was terribly disrespectful. I think one of these days, Harry, as we always knew him, Prince Harry, is going to wake up in Montesino and he's actually going to say to himself, what on earth have I done? What have I got myself into? I have literally cut the umbilical cord that I had with the most famous family in the world in pursuit of wealth, in pursuit of glory, but mostly in pursuit of what my wife wanted me to do against my real family.
Emma, listen, the clock's against us. I've never been a fan of Meghan Markle's. However, I don't think she's bonkers, and I do think that she went through quite some mental torture when she became the Duchess of Sussex. But what's your view about all of this?
Well, I'm not a psychiatrist. I'm not a psychologist. I'm not going to try and diagnose anybody from a distance. It's not my role. I don't think anyone should be really doing that. When it comes to the royal family, as I've said before, I'm a Republican. I don't curtsy to anyone. I think the last person I curtsied to was my ballet teacher when I was 6 years old, and I quite quickly transferred to gymnastics. I won't be watching the documentary, but I wouldn't watch a documentary that was pro the rest of the royal family either. So I'm just one giant shrug, Mark, I'm afraid.
Well, listen, let me tell you that it's a fascinating conversation. The emails are coming in thick and fast. A deep privilege to welcome you to the programme again, Carole. Carole Lieberman is known as America's psychiatrist, and you can find her at Dr. Carole MD on Twitter. She's on YouTube, and it's always worth hearing her view. Thanks, Carole.
Always my pleasure. Thank you.
Great stuff. Lots more.